Hello guys! Hearthstone just dropped a new big patch for Battlegrounds, so let's go over it real quick. There are some hero changes, minion changes, and even some minions removed from the minion pool. Before we get into that, make sure to subscribe to the channel cause it helps me a lot to make more nice videos for you guys. Now let's move on. Starting off with Aranna, it got an hero power rework. The old hero power used to be after you refresh the shop 5 times, Bob always has 7 minions. The new one is after 16 friendly minions attack, the first minion you buy every turn is free. So this hero power is crazy. You can look at it as plus 3 gold each turn. And yeah, Aranna is now a tier 1 hero. Curator also got changed. Instead of summoning a 2/2 Amalgam, you will now summon a 1/1 with Venomous. I'm personally not a fan of this change, because Curator used to have 20 armor and now only has 10 armor. And having Venomous on your Amalgam doesn't seem worth 10 HP to me. ETC Band Manager is getting nerfed. The only change is that its body was tier 3 and it's now tier 5. So if you wanna have the ability to make another body golden, you need to be on tier 5. Because ETC can only discover bodies from your tavern tier and below. Although you can also hero power on tier 4, get Finley body, which is like a 1/1 that has a battle cry to give you your own body. So technically you can also just get this on tier 4 if you're lucky. Armor updates Aranna and Curator down to 10. And now the minion updates. Flourishing Frostling is getting +1 health. This minion was okay at 5 health, and now it's even better with 6 health. Hummingbird +2 health. Not the biggest change ever, but definitely better than before. Eternal Knight +1 attack. Scarlet Skull +1 attack, -1 health, but this is a buff overall, because you rather have higher attack on a reborn minion, and you don't care about health. If anything, you just want this to die. Soul Rewinder got nerfed, -1 attack. Radio Star going down to a 1/1, but this card is still really good. Accordotron got buffed, +1 attack, which is really weird because this card was already insane, and now it's just way better. Prickly Piper moving down to tier 3, and it's a 5/2. Once again, you just want this card to die, so it losing 1 health is actually like a buff. And losing 1 attack, slight nerf, but the card goes down to tier 3, which is insane. Quillboars are so much better now. Endless Forsaken, it's another one that goes from tier 4 to tier 3. Once again, it's losing like 2 health. It used to have 3, now it has 1. But that doesn't matter, you just want this card to die for the most part. It's not a big deal. The fact that it's now tier 3, it's really, really good. Before, it felt really bad when you were trying to play an Anubarak comp, and then Endless Forsaken is really important in that comp, but you just couldn't find it because it was a 4-drop and it was too difficult. There weren't enough copies in the pool. Now that it's tier 3, it's a lot easier to find when you need it. And it's also a nice card for any event setup. Rylak getting nerfed, finally, going from tier 3 to tier 4. Pretty big nerf, because buying a 3/4 taunt on tier 3 is very easy, but doing it on tier 4 is a lot more costly, because tier 4, like having a 3/4 stat line is not good. Hopefully we will see less Rylak shenanigans after this nerf, because once you pop off with this card, you can create certain board state that people just can't ever beat. Prince Malzazar also getting nerfed. It goes to tier 4 and it's now a 6/3. So demons took 2 hits. Not only -1 attack on the Rewinder, which makes it harder to pick it up if you don't have synergies already. And now the Malzazar also going up 1 tavern tier, which is huge. Personally, I'm okay with these nerfs because demons get stats so fast in the mid game when you hit. And basically no one can compete with them. Once you reach the late game, you can play some tech cards and deal with them, but in the mid game they are really, really oppressive. Basically, if you're facing a demon opponent, you know for sure you're gonna take like 10 damage. So if you had a rough early game, what will happen is that you will just queue any demon gamer in the mid game and die, and that felt really bad. So hopefully we'll see a little less demons now. Scrapper got reworked. It used to be a 3/6, Avenge 4, get a random magnetic. Now it's a 3/7, so +1 health. At the end of your turn, get a random magnetic. So it doesn't spike as hard when you have a strong Avenge setup. But if you can get to tier 5, I'll say this is way better. Because first of all, you can now play Deflectos again in Max. Before, when this was an Avenge card, you didn't really want to play Deflecto in your comp, because then your stuff wouldn't die and you wouldn't get value. So yeah, I will say that like the base power of the Scrapper is weaker than before, but once you have all the synergies with Drakari, Deflecto, and the other guy that gives you +1/+1 for each magnetics, the comp seems stronger than before, actually. But yeah, mechs are very dangerous. I will say the card is just about as good as it used to be before, honestly. It's just different. And also, I will say it's less skill testing to play than before, which is not something I like. Like when they just take some cards and they make them more boring and streamlined. But hey, it is what it is. Xylobones gets +1 attack. That's nice. Now another big nerf. Upbeat Duo going up to tier 5 and it's now a 6/6. Good thing that they moved this card to 5. On tier 4, this was by far the best card in the game and the most impactful card at high MMR. And having that in a neutral card is not very healthy, because like people just force it every game. Now it's on tier 5. It's like you can't force this anymore, first of all. Although at the same time, I've played a few games on the new patch, and it kind of feels like if anyone triples into this, they kind of just win the game all the time. So I don't know how I feel about this change. Like obviously it's better than before, but like I can't wait for this card to actually leave the game, because even though it's fun to play with sometimes, it's too broken, man. This card is just too strong. Like basically every other turn you get the perfect wish, the best card you could ever imagine getting. This guy gives it to you. So yeah, just way too strong. At least now that it's on tier 5, people have a reason to level to 5. Like in the last patch, it was very tough to justify leveling to tier 5, because so many good win cons were on 4 and the best card in the game was on tier 4. Not to mention that on tier 4, Upbeat Duo is the best card in the game. But if you level to tier 5 and you get it one turn later compared to your opponents, then you're at a huge disadvantage. So now that it's on 5, it doesn't feel as bad to level to tier 5. Utility Drone going from a 4/5 to a 6/7. So another buff for mechs for reasons. Because like once mech pop off, it's almost impossible to beat them. You basically need to be APM, because the level of tech cards that mechs provide with Deflecto and shields and reset and stuff is insane. So not too big of a fan of this change. Bongo Bopper. Old 5/5, end of your turn, you get 1 blood gem and it casts 2 more blood gems on itself. Now it gets +1 attack and it gives you 2 gems in the hand, plus casting 2 gems on itself. That's a sizable buff. Honestly, the card was not too bad on its own before, and now it just got better. Although I'll say it's probably not OP, should just be strong. I don't think this card is broken, but maybe I'm wrong, because Prickly Piper went to tier 3. This card looks extremely strong. If you are playing Quillboars and if your gems have been buffed. Like if your gems just give you +1/+1, then this card is like whatever, but if you get an early triple into a 5-drop and nothing else is better, I guess you take it. Bristleback Knight getting +1/+1 now has a much nicer stat line. Ghastly Trumpeter, again, going from 4/5 to 6/7, so it got +2/+2 for free. Not a fan of this change. Like, this card was already broken, and now they just made it better, and I don't understand why. Because if you have 4 copies of this card, you win the game. So yeah, I don't know. Not a fan of this. Lightfang Enforcer also getting buffed. Gets +2/+2. So now, instead of being a worthless 2/2, it's a 4/4, which can actually trade with some 2-drops and 3-drops. Polarizing Beatboxer, another mech card getting buffed. It was a 3/7, it is now a 5/10, so +2/+3. Again, this card was already fine. I don't get why they're buffing it, because like, even with this stat line, are you really gonna pick it up if you're not already playing max? I don't know, weird. So like, basically you still play it in the same situation, but it's just better because reasons. And then Sister Death's Whisper, it's getting +1 health, and after a friendly minion is reborn, it now gives +1/+3 instead of +1/+2. That's a nice buff. We'll see if Sister is gonna be playable again, because before it was basically unplayable after the nerf. We played with this card with a +1/+3 buff for a little bit, and it was decent back then. Like, the main purpose of this card is to just counter other token comps, like Mama Bear Beast and mid-range mech comps and other undead comps and Murloc comps, like small poison comps. But if you compare this scaling against like real scaling, like elementals and pirates and monkey, like, this doesn't compete even at +1/+3. Although it's still a nice card if you're already playing undeads, just to buff your board outside of blaster range, I guess, now that they've removed the +2/+7 buff for undead. Tethys also getting nerfed. Instead of having to spend 8 gold, you now have to spend 9. I don't know how big of a nerf this is. Like, is it gonna change the math on how many Tethys and synergies you need in order to go infinite? I don't know. If the math doesn't change, then this nerf is almost irrelevant. Eternal Summoner getting a buff, +2 attack. Not to mention that the Knight itself is getting +1 attack. So overall, if you triple into a Summoner with 0 synergies, you get like 8 extra damage out of it, which is pretty huge. A lot of tempo. Murkai also getting buff. It gets +2/+2, which is fine. Now it's a little easier to justify keeping this guy on your board for the effect. Because before, what you will do usually is like, you will end on Murkai for 1 turn and then you will insta-sell it the next turn, because just the 7/4 was just not good enough. Has a 9/6. It feels a little better to keep around. And the last change, Incorporeal Corporal has been removed from the minion pool. This was the tier 1 undead 5/5 that died whenever it attacks. And now instead we have Rot Hide Null, which has been returned to the minion pool, which is also an undead. 1-drop, it's a 1/4, which gets +1 attack during the fight for each minion that died on your side of the board. So it's basically kind of like Hyena, but for undeads. And then once the fight is over, it goes back to a 1/4, and then in the next fight it's gonna grow again. It doesn't get permanent attack. But it's still a way better card than the Incorporeal Corporal for undeads. And yeah, it's a nice undead. There's good synergies with the tribe. Like, the Corporeal honestly had nothing to do with undeads. It was just a random 5/5 that you put in the back of your comp, and then it was just a good card for Vol'jin and Mutanus. So this change is also gonna make undeads better overall. Thoughts about the patch? 2 of the most controversial cards of the last meta, which were Upbeat Duo and Rylak, both got nerfed by a whole Tavern tier. So that's gonna shake things up quite a lot. Mechs were one of the best comps in the game, and they're still gonna be one of the best comps in the game. They didn't change much. Undeads were virtually unplayable, but now they got so many nice buffs that they are gonna see some niche place in the meta. I don't think they're gonna be like the best tribe or anything like that, but they're definitely gonna be viable now, especially in certain lobbies, like they can counter poison and such. And other than that, the other tribes didn't change much. If you enjoyed this review, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!